Hello, everybody. I got some great background music for you all today. Aloha. Skugsiatic, Aninapchiguk, Jennifer Varenchek. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Varenchek, and I am so glad to have everybody here today. The Aunties are here. Today is Wednesday, May 8th, and we want to welcome you to today's live event. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. I hope that you all are having a great day and that you are happy. We are working hard to bring resources to you. If you saw the pre-show, there are a lot of flyers in there, a lot of information and resources for our community across all of Turtle Island. And we want to, before we start, we want to acknowledge everyone that we're partnering with. We have Paul from powwows.com. Thank you so much for being a partner. Native Muse Productions. And the two are coming together along with AC and Associates to make this live stream event happen. And so we want to thank you for watching. And then we also want to remind you that to join us for our next Sissy, Unci, and Aunties live event, and that will be June 12th from 3 to 4:30 Pacific and 12 to 1:30 Hawaii time. And we're going to have a special guest, and that will be Elton Noswood. Yay! So at this time, I would like to bring on our co-host, Avril Cordova. Avril, come on down. Yay! Hello.
Yay!
Yay! We're both doing like two hands. Sparkle or jazz hands or whatever. Thank you. At least we're laughing.
Avril Cordova. Yeah, at least we're laughing. Kiyohomi Takiape, Avril Cordova, Machiape, Malakota, and Taos Pueblo. My Thama is Joseph Conquilla Cordova. My Iner and my cause, Patricia Crow Cordova. I'm sixth generation from Chief Red Cloud. I'm the owner operator of AC and Associates. I'm a mother, daughter, community member, co-host, and I'm honored to be here virtually to visit, to laugh, to have fun, and to be in community, to be surrounded by some amazing guests that we have today, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're watching from. We have some great guests. So thanks, Jen, for opening it up in a good way. And
We want to
we're ready
start.
to start. So
Yeah.
what we're gonna go ahead.
I was going to say start in a good way, but go ahead, take it away.
Okay. So it's always important for me as AC and Associates to start off in a good way. And what that means for me is prayer. So I have some California white sage that I harvested recently, and I'm going to go ahead and light it. And what this is called is smudging. So I have some big white sage right here, but I also have little leaves of the sage that can be used as well. And usually I just light the little leaves that come off or that I'm not able to bundle. So I'm going to go ahead and smudge. What this means is I'm taking this smoke and putting it on my hair for my hair to grow long, my mouth so I can have good words, my ears so I can hear good things, my heart, and different people do it differently. As I pray, this smoke or this smudge is going to be taken up, and all of our prayers and good thoughts and good prayers will be taken to Creator. So that's a brief explanation, but I'm going to go ahead and pray now.
Thank
Creator,
you.
we come to you today with open hearts and open minds, thankful for the many blessings that you provide us on a minute, monthly, second basis, from the ability to walk, talk, be here today, to laugh, to visit, to have a good time, to relax, not to worry about what's going on around us or in our lives, but just listen and have a good time with some great guests. Creator, I ask that you watch over everybody that's watching this, everybody that has had a hand in putting this together, and everybody that's helping in the background. May you continue to keep them healthy, wealthy, and safe, Creator. And if everybody or anybody hasn't been told lately that I love them, that I'm praying for them, and that we hope that you just have a good day, a good next 5 minutes, a good 10 minutes. I know we're all struggling through something, but Creator, I'm thankful just to be alive again today.
Mm.
Please watch over the individuals that are here, the individuals that are watching, and the individuals that'll be watching in replay. Ta'a pila mayaye, gracias, yehe, jonas le, jonas le, jonas le, jonas le. Amen. That ends.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I felt that. And so after we do our prayer, we also want to do acknowledge where we are. So today I'll be doing the land acknowledgement, and I'm streaming here from the illegally occupied Kingdom of Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, in the city of Kaneohe, and in the community of Kahalu. And we just want to acknowledge that this is a traditional land of the Kingdom of Hawaii. And I'm just grateful to be a guest on this land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So Avril, let's throw it back to you, and we're going to get ready to do our introduction of guests. Yay!
Yay. Thank you, Jen, for being here and sharing space. I'm so excited to be here virtually with you and the relatives that are joining us as we embrace our our cultural values, restore and revitalize or decolonize today and the season. We can hold on to the wisdom and teachings of our ancestors and take time to rest, reflect, plan, and take on the day, journey, and dreams. I'm so thankful for you, Jen, for your continued support with our lives, and I'm so honored and thankful to have you and everybody watching surrounding the show, me with support, love, and uplift me. And I hope that this energy reaches you all and finds you in a supportive network in your journey. So please feel free again to come back, as Jen mentioned earlier, next month and check out our next session in June, where we'll have the amazing Elton Naswood. I'm so excited to see that. And now we have the opportunity, that's next month, but now we have the opportunity to bring some amazing guests that I have seen grow in their beauty and their spirit and their businesses. The first individual that we have is the amazing, the beautiful, the talented Sarah Winnie. Boop, boop, boop.
Yay!
Hi. That was a great intro. I wish
Yeah.
you said that to me every day.
It's every day, girl. It's every day.
I'm gonna call you in the morning and be like, get ready, go. So first off, I want to say I'm so honored and thankful that both of you two invited me to be here today. I feel nervous but excited. But my name is Sarah Winnie. I'm Navajo, Pima, and Seneca. I am Los Angeles based. I am a licensed esthetician, a business owner of 8 years, and I'm a sister. And yeah, I've been sober for 7 years as of today.
Yay! Boop, boop, boop.
What a way to celebrate.
Yes.
And I had to flip my hair back because these are a Sarah Winnie original right here.
Oh,
So
wow.
I needed to show these off. I wore them specifically because I knew Sarah would be here. She's an amazing beater. She does great, great stuff. So I just wanted to give you, a little shout out, hype you up there.
Thank you.
Yes, and we have Sarah's information down below. So follow her on her virtual socials and her journey. She does amazing TikToks, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But so true, so honest, and I'm so excited to visit with you today and just be in this circle.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, we're going to bring our next guest on, who I'm also very excited to see. I remember I was reflecting and thinking about today, and I was like, I remember way back when we were like working together at the American Indian Community Council, just like hauling boxes or folding flyers or just like doing stuff. And now here she is, a business owner, an amazing mother, an amazing person in our community. Please help me welcome Monique Castro.
Boop, boop,
Yay!
Woo, love it. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And Jen, I was actually reflecting on, just the work that we've done and from like 10 years ago. And actually, if you didn't know this, I think everyone needs to know this, is that Jen, you were one of the folks who really introduced me into wellness from like an indigenous lens when you did a workshop many years ago at TANF when I was working there. Yes.
What?
So,
Oh my God.
really, yes, there was like that really significant time. I remember that workshop and you sharing the medicine wheel and all of that. So anyways, before I forget, I wanted to say thank you. And also, Avril, I've been in space with you and in a community and like just, see you as such an amazing mentor and so forth. So I'm so grateful to be here.
We are so glad that you're here, and thank you for sharing. That really means a lot to me. You know how they say, like, kids tell your teachers like years later that, and so I was like, I'm having that moment right now.
Yes,
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. So I know everybody that is watching wants to know more about the two of you. You're both incredible women, incredible things that you've done in your life so far, and so much more that we know that you will be contributing to community and to your families. So we're gonna start off with some questions, and I believe Avril, you have the first question. So I'm gonna pass it to you.
I do have the first.
And it's for Sarah.
Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
Right. So the first question that we have for you, Sarah, is can you share with us who you are and how your mental health journey has been?
Okay, I'm like, where to start? So I feel like I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I'm a very big self-help kind of person. I love self-help lifestyle podcasts. I listen to tons of self-help books. I also like more of like manifesting, intentions type of thinking as well. And I've also been to therapy as well for several years with a few different therapists. I feel like, so how has your mental health journey, how has it been? I feel like I'm in a good place. I've had my ups and downs.
Mm.
Especially like through COVID, there was a long time where I didn't think depression was real. And then I realized it was. I was like, oh shit, this is real. They should talk about this. But
Yes.
yeah, and I feel like I've been through almost every stage you can kind of think of, like denial, kind of like toughen up and just push through it. Who cares? Get over it. To there was like months of my life during COVID where I would just couldn't stop crying because I was going to therapy. I like cracked open this like seal of like all these old like repressed emotions. But I feel like currently I am not in therapy, but I have no problem going back. I had 2 years in therapy through COVID. I was very fortunate to find an Indigenous woman therapist, which was such a
Mm.
blessing,
Mm.
especially being in LA. I feel like I didn't think that was going to ever happen. So I feel like being seen by your mental health professional is so crucial. And I feel like once people feel seen, they feel understood. But yeah, so
Mm.
that's kind of a little like summary of my mental health journey so far.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I
That
can't
was a
wait to
good one.
dive.
Thank you for sharing and being
Yeah,
honest.
of course.
I want
Yes.
to I want to
Yes.
just say, a lot of things happened through COVID, and a lot of therapists were seeked out. But once you start being able to fully be honest with somebody and let out all that stuff, it
Hmm.
feels like a big old weight has been released.
Absolutely.
And I've tried talk therapy, and it may be for some people, it may be not for some people. It wasn't necessarily for me, but also
Yeah.
there's other avenues, sweat, harvesting, and we'll talk about that stuff later. But
Hmm.
I'm just glad, once like you said, once you can share, you can and feel like you're seen, you can be seen, and
Yes.
and moving forward with that is a great understanding. Did she provide you tips or things that you still use today?
Um, I feel like at that time in my life, I was pretty deep into like self-help books already. There wasn't a lot that she said that I didn't already like kind of think of automatically. But I think just having someone to relate to that is a professional that I feel like can see me eye to eye felt like it was enough. Even though I feel like I didn't take away tons of tools, but one thing that I do really enjoy, we even did like tobacco ties in our
Mm.
sessions, and I feel like that was super special. Like, where are you gonna ever find that? I feel like I was so grateful and lucky and blessed to be able to be a part of that. But I don't even think it's necessarily the tools that I got from her. It's just being seen by her. I feel like was super
Mm.
Mm.
validating in like my emotions and with whatever I was going through at that time.
Mhm. Wow, thank you for sharing. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And you said, where are you going to see um, like tobacco ties? So that leads us into our next question. And Jen, you got this.
I do. So our next question is for Monique. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and can you tell us how you got started in the mental health field?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share a little bit more about who I am and the roles that I have. And so I'm Dine and Chicana, born and raised on Tongva territory here in Los Angeles. My grandparents came during the relocation era. I would consider myself like second generation off reservation. So my father was raised here in Los Angeles, and then myself. So we have definitely that urban native experience. One of the things that I feel is really important to also share is so I am the CEO and founder of Indigenous Circle of Wellness, which is a psychotherapy practice with Native Indigenous providers, and we center cultural, therapy as well as holistic approaches to wellness, and we do that in various ways. So, like to Avril's point, like there's different ways for us to receive healing and wellness, and especially attend to our mental health. But that entry point to it was really my own experience of growing up away from my parents and being raised by my grandparents. And my parents had dealt with their own substance use challenges. I wasn't able to be in the household with them. I was separated as a young child from my siblings. Had to experience the social service department and all these different things that are not we see very common within our communities. So I experienced a lot of that. And I feel like I was on my own healing journey of trying to figure out, well, what is the way that I can figure out and get support for myself, but also like then bring that back to community and to my family and to the larger community, because I seen that there was such a need for it. Because I'm also a little nervous, even though I do a lot of speaking engagements, I also get nervous. Let me even go back a bit more on my hats real quick. And I will get back to like how I got into the field. But so I'm now a mom. My son's almost 2 years old. I'm a wife. I'm an auntie. I say a super auntie because I was like an auntie for many, many, many years to all the little ones until I had my own child. So now I'm an auntie and a mom. I've been like a bonus parent. I am a bonus parent. I'm also, had custody of my niece. So I've had that role as like a parental figure for my niece. I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. And I run the Indigenous Circle of Wellness, and I also have my own coaching and consulting business. And I can share a little bit more about that work and like where I'm envisioning that work to go as we move forward. So the entry point does stem from my own personal history and experiences, having my family struggle with different substance use challenges, being system impacted, criminal justice challenges as well. So these things really started to inform like where I wanted to go and how I wanted to support community. So when I first started college, I didn't know that there was a field of psychology. Never heard of it, had no idea about it. I'm a first generation high school graduate, so therefore first generation going into college, and I had no direction, no awareness of what was out there. I had like maybe 4 career paths that I was aware of: teacher, police officer, a lawyer, and a doctor. Like that was it. I didn't know anything else. So when I went into, I attended Cal State LA, and I was kind of lost, but I was determined to figure it out. And in that process, I took the GE classes, various classes, and I started to kind of get a sense of, oh, this is really like resonating with me. This really feels like I could use, like this information's helpful. And was when I took my first psychology class is when I feel like I had my, like, I fell in love moment. I'm like, this is all the things in one. Like I wanted to understand how the brain worked. I wanted to understand addiction. I wanted to understand mental health challenges. I was just ready to receive it all. So I ended up changing my major from then, when I first started, was a criminal justice major, to then a psychology major. And I think even the thing that really pushed me further, there was 2 significant things that happened in that time frame. One was that I had a colleague I was working with, an older colleague, who said, you know what, you're really good at supporting folks. I think you'd be an amazing therapist. I'm like, therapist? Like I know psychology, but I still didn't know therapy. I didn't know therapist, never heard of it, like so new to me. And so it got me thinking, it's like, I think you would be really great. Like you should consider that. Okay. So that was like one like thing that I kept at the top of mind. The other thing was that I had a counselor who told me that I should not go into psychology because it's too hard. Because I am the type of person that says you can't do something, I'm gonna do it anyways. I was like, I'm gonna do this because he said I can, and I'm gonna show you that I can. And I did. And so yes, and then I continued on after working for a year within the community as a case manager. I started to see my limitations around, I can support, but to an extent, but I'm seeing a greater need in really going further into the healing process. And I was like, what would be that? So in that year of working in the organization where I met Jen, I started to notice, okay, there's a gap. There's a really big gap. And we're referring folks to therapists, but they're coming back and saying the therapist doesn't understand me, or this is not working. Like, it would fall very short. And so I kept receiving that information and data. And then a year after working there, I decided I'm going to go back to school, get my master's, and went into counseling psychology to get my license eventually. And so now I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist of 10 years. I graduated in 2014, so 10 years in the field, like providing therapy services, and licensed with my own business now for nearly 7. And it's been a journey. And it also is something that I'm so passionate about and want to support folks in so many different ways. And, little by little, on this journey, I'm figuring out ways to do that. And then the other last thing I wanted to just add is that, similar to what Sarah had shared, like having my own experience in mental health, right? Like there's been various times where it was because of this training and background and resources that I was able to access things, seeing my own therapist, right? That was another turning point. That turning point was specific to my desire to open a private practice, is when I was looking for a therapist in private practice and I couldn't find one. So I obviously have this trend of this, something is missing. I'm going to go out and do the thing that's missing. I learned that about myself. So we didn't have a lot of folks in private practice. I'm like, then we need to. And so then that's when Indigenous Circle of Wellness, the idea started to come to be. But my own therapy experience, including, my experiences being a new mom and the postpartum journey and mental health and that. So it's another area I think right now I'm learning more about and wanting to support our moms, our child bearers in that mental health journey during and after pregnancy, because there's a lot there. So I'll pause there, and thank you for that question and allowing me to share all of that with you.
Thank you. I loved hearing it. I loved hearing like your journey, and a lot of things that I didn't know. And that I'm like, wow, that is just so cool how you were able to. I love, like, if someone tells you you can't, like, I'm the same way. And I constantly hear the comment in the back of my head whenever I'm working on a thing that they said that I couldn't do. I'm like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. I also like that you're part of our community. People can look to you and trust you and know that even the background, that you have, being second generation here, relocation, all of those things come into play for us urban, I guess, native folks that are out here. And when you go to a therapist, Washichu therapist, or somebody that's non-native, they don't understand all of that historical trauma. And it wasn't until I started working at UAII that I learned that. And I was like, do our folks even know what historical trauma is? And a lot of people don't know. And if you don't know, it's all of those things: relocation, boarding school. It's all of those things that our relatives have been through that still affect us today. So that's what historical trauma is. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I appreciate that, you were willing enough and strong enough to open your own business, to see the issue, but also have a solution to fix that problem, or be a part of the fixing that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it, the end. Okay, so thank you. We're gonna go to our next question, and this is for Sarah. The question is, what prompted you to start walking the red road? Do you have any tips for people struggling with sobriety?
So I have had substance abuse issues in my family on both sides. And I saw that growing up. And I feel like that definitely negatively impacted me throughout my young years, up until it stays with you, up until now. And I think after seeing that over and over, I would always say, like, oh, I'm never going to drink. I'm never going to drink. And then started drinking. And I feel like I started to see my parents in me in a negative way as I got older and older, and I didn't like that. And I felt like I got to this certain point where I was so sick of my shit. I was so sick of me saying like, "Oh, this is the last time," or "I'm only gonna have one." Like, obviously, I couldn't do that, and it wasn't in the cards for me to be able to do that. And I have continuously proved to myself that I didn't have that ability. So there was a point where I was just like, okay, that's it. Like, I just have to stop completely. I was like yo-yoing back and forth, like 6 months off, 6 months on, a week off. Like, it wasn't a linear process, that's for sure. But I think I just wanted a different life for myself, and I didn't want to be another statistic. Still, like, I feel like when you see, a drunk native, I feel like I don't want to contribute to that thought of, the kind of people that we are, because we're more than that. And I was just like, okay, well, it starts with me. I cannot control anything that anybody else does, but I can control how I carry myself and how I choose to like live my life going forward. As well as the next question, do you have any tips for people struggling to party? I would say don't expect it to be like black and white. It's very gray. And there's this one saying that like relapse is a part of recovery, and that it's not linear. It's always going to be like a good day and a bad day, good day and a bad day. I would say just focus on the day you have in front of you, because, life happens, shit happens, we mess up. It's like, it's not about if you mess up, it's like about how long you stay down. You can, mess up and then get back up and get back to it. It's not linear. So I would say that's my biggest tip. Don't expect it to be black and white. I wish it was that easy, but it's really not. We're human people. Nothing's perfect like that. Things, come up. But I would say get a therapist for sure if you can, or go to meetings, whichever you prefer. I did both. But definitely get a therapist. And then also, I would say change your surroundings. The people that you party with and drink with, or whatever you're trying to not do, that's going to deeply like contribute to it if you keep going or if you stop. So yeah.
I love that you say that. I always, when I do a lot of different types of trainings, and I talk a lot still to youth. If you don't know, we've seen Sarah grow up from a little girl to the beautiful girl that she is today. But as I'm speaking to youth, I always tell them, look at the 5 people that are in your life. Put your hand out. Who are those 5 people? Because if you look at those 5 people are a reflection of yourself. So like when I was drinking, I was in the bars, my best friend, he was a guy, we would party all the time. And when I stopped drinking, he wasn't in my life anymore. And it's because my surroundings were a reflection of my life. I was drinking, I was in the bars, I was going out. And when I stopped doing that, the support that I had in my life was empowering women, empowering individuals that supported me, people that I can turn to. And yes, I have had my ups and downs. And I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of the times, when I was drinking, all of my problems were somebody else's problems. They weren't mine. I blamed them on other people. Oh, they don't like me. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that to me. But it was me doing that to myself. And also, I think being stuck in my trauma is a lot of the things, a lot of times, and when I started flipping the script and thinking positive and being sober, things started getting positive. Things in my life were taking off, and it took time. I'm just telling, the girls before we jumped on, it's been over 13 years that I've been sober now. Sarah, you have 7 years, and your business and your life. I mean, I love watching you on TikTok, and I wanted to mention this because you have this episode that you're doing now called Sober Talk. And do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So it's a little segment that me and one of my best friends thought of. So I'm very, very fortunate that not only did my sister end up getting sober, she's here in the chat, I see her, but my best friend as well. My best friend got sober about 2 years after I did. And Emily got sober, I believe, a year or 2 ago. Don't get mad at me if she's watching. Don't tell me. But me and my best friend, we would always have these like long conversations about how it's so different existing in this world, especially in like your early 30s as like a woman and being sober and like dating, what it is to feel judged at a party or try not to judge other people at places. So we're like, we wish that we could find a platform or someone to talk about this because it's not really out there. And a lot of the times, if it is out there, there's people that are like either a lot younger or a lot older where I don't feel like I relate to like what they're saying. So I was like, whatever. I have like a little in my little salon. I was like, let's just like get some mics and we'll just like chop it up and see what happens. And we try to do it like at least every 2 weeks. And I feel like it's been surprisingly well received. I'm really shocked constantly about people that I don't even realize watch it. And that, oh my God, when are you gonna put out another episode? I'm like, what do you mean? Like now I feel like a little like shit, I gotta do this. But I think it's so cool because you never know who you're helping. You never know who's taking like something from you in like, a good way, but you never know how you're affecting other people. And I think having a sober conversation, especially from like two modern women that are in dating scenes, and we both have like careers, we're pretty independent, and what it's like existing sober in this life, because it does feel a lot different than before. I feel like I've had two lives by now. But yeah, it's on my TikTok, which is Indigenous in the City. We come out with episodes at least like once or twice every other week. But it's been a lot of fun, and we're always open to suggestions of like what you guys want to hear us talk about. Because sometimes we're like, we don't know what we're doing. I just work here, so I'm just trying to figure it out. But it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
The other thing,
check it out.
yeah, you should. It's so awesome. The other thing that I wanna mention too is you guys are having drinks while you're doing it.
Yes.
For me, I'm not a non-alcoholic drinker because I would want the real thing, and I think that would tempt me. There's only been one time when I went to this, it's called Cielito Lindo in El Monte. It's like where they play mariachis and you eat dinner. And there was this one time, and it's a party environment, or there's drinking there. So there was this people in front of us and they were having shots. And that was the first time ever in my life since I've been sober that my mouth got all watery. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need air. I got up and I went outside. Yes. So to see you guys drinking, there's non-alcoholic drinks that you can drink in.
Yes. There's actually even like a non-alcoholic bar here in Los Angeles. No alcohol at all. They have wine. It's so nice. And like I am very understanding that everyone has different triggers. For me, taste and smell and being around it has never triggered me to want to drink. I actually bartended and I would waitress while being sober. And I don't really feel like it ever affected me. I think I know my trigger is like being really stressed out. I feel like it's more of a feeling for me than a taste or a smell. And I do like the taste of beer, and it is nice to have kind of like a social buffer, because sometimes when you're in situations or in parties and people find out that you're not drinking, they get real weird about it. They will make it about themselves, and I'm like, I'm not trying to police you. Like, you don't have to stop drinking. I'm just not. But having a drink like that can really make you feel, I don't want to say normal, but make you feel like you're not going to get 21 questions for not getting fucked up like everybody else. But yeah, I just side note, but I was thinking about how you were saying earlier that you changed your environment with people, and like, or they kind of fell away when you got sober. Luckily I agree with that. I'm not really in positions like that anymore, but sometimes there's birthday parties or weddings or whatever it is. But I do feel like being sober in the beginning is very lonely. I feel like when you're drinking, you think you got all the friends because everyone's just like on the same page and the same vibe as you. But I think it really shows who's there for you when you do a lifestyle change like that, and you see who falls away and who sticks. But I do think that having those non-alcoholic drinks are really nice because you can kind of exist in like hiding in these like normal spaces where people normally do drink,
Yeah.
But yeah, they're good. I don't personally find it as like a trigger. So I feel like it's okay for me, but I know everybody's different.
Yeah. My drink of choice now is cranberry juice, ginger ale in a wine glass with light ice. and it
I
looks
love
like
that.
a wine. But
Yes.
anyways, thank you for answering those questions. We're
Yes.
gonna keep it moving. Jen, you're up.
Yes. Our next question is for Monique, and our question is, how can one get started on improving their mental health, and where do they get started? What are some simple steps people can take to improve their mental health? I know it's a long, like a lot, but just
So,
give us
yeah.
some tips.
Taking away from just this conversation right now is like, your environment is huge. Like, who are you around? So, if you're struggling with anything related to your health, mental health, like you want to be around people who are going to support you, who are going to be able to talk to you or are doing the things that you're doing in a good way. Right. So, I love that example of like the 5 fingers, like who is your support team? Like who are those 5 folks? And if they're not serving you, they're not being supportive, then maybe for right now, you might take a break. You might need to reassess that relationship, because in any type of journey that we're on around our wellness, whether that's be sobriety, if we have mental health challenges, even health challenges, remember, they're all intertwined, is that the people around us are going to really shape how we move forward, how we're going to continue on a way that is the most resourceful and supportive. And so this is where we have to really think about that. The sobriety is one great example of that. And also, so sobriety is a great example of that. And I want to share, like, as you're getting sober, you're going to start meeting other sober people, right?
Yes.
So in the beginning, there's that transition time. And then there's also grief because you're losing some relationships. And the same thing when it comes to mental health. And everyone's different. The same thing is around like the triggers around it, right? So I'm going to give you all an example. I like to share personal experiences from my own life. And this way, it's relational and people can relate to it if it's something that they've experienced. So I mentioned I'm a mom now of a nearly 2-year-old. I experienced a pretty severe anxiety and depression during my pregnancy. I didn't quite know that at the time. I was just in it. I just thought this was normal. This is what pregnant people experience. However, as I then had my son and I had a very traumatic birth experience, obviously was not planning a traumatic birth experience. But in that, in short, I almost did not make it. Like I almost was not going to be here. Right.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was, yeah. And I want to share that actual story one day of like what happened and how I've like since like I'm working on my healing process of that for myself, and then still being a provider, right? And also the supports that I needed. So when I went on maternity leave, I'm like, I'm going to be back in 3 months, back to my work, all the things. And I had to start being really honest with myself and transparent with my team. Like, I'm not okay. Like I had this really traumatic experience. Now I'm recognizing that I've actually been navigating depression and anxiety without the support because I thought it was normal during that time. But it got to a point where it got very scary for me and the mental health side of it. And I started to I needed to be honest with myself. I needed to be honest with my team because I'm not going to come back right away. I cannot come back. And when I come back, I probably is going to look very different. So then I started to have conversations with my family. Like, this is really where I'm at. And these are the supports that I need. Now, in that process, being the strong woman, like strong woman energy, Monique is always good. She's the one out here supporting others. To ask for support was hard. Let people know I'm struggling and I'm not coming back in this way. It's going to look different, or I'm not back at work yet, or I'm not coming to events, right? I'm just now honestly coming out into community spaces again. This is nearly 2 years later. And I needed that time, right? And so improving my mental health required me to, one, be honest, to, like, share like those little, whatever those to be honest with myself, let people know that are in my circle, like, this is what's happening and this is the support that I need. At work, it was like, I'm not coming back for a while. This is what I need. If you all can continue running everything, I'm here, but I'm not here right now. And so they did that. They're amazing. On my house and family, I had to discontinue going to certain events, being out in certain spaces. I needed to take care of myself. And I did that. And I'm in a much better place now, which is why I'm able to be here. I'm able to speak again and share. But it is that process of that honesty and coming to realization of what support is needed. And I had to change my therapist. I had an amazing therapist that I love so much, but I was now in a very unique place in my life with a very I needed a special therapist. And this is something I would like people to know too. We can go to different therapists at different points of our life, right? When I was before I had a child, before I was pregnant, I had a therapist that really helped me with boundary setting and career goals and just navigating life, right? Postpartum, I needed a postpartum therapist. And there's specialists out there. There's people who have very specific training in areas. And I found one. She's phenomenal. She helped me get through that time. This really challenging time last year. And then, now I'm actually back with a therapist that I had from when I was in college, because I'm starting to do those patterns again when I was in grad school. And I wanted to revisit her, and it's been really helpful. So sometimes we might move to different providers given different times of our life. I also see an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, because let me tell you, my back is not the same since having my son. Stress management. I also noticed that my anxiety really flares up around stress. So I have to prevent the stress. And part of that prevention is getting support. And I see an acupuncturist. I go to massage therapy. I changed my schedule, how it looks. I used to be a workaholic. I'm no longer a workaholic. I am very mindful of my time and who I spend my time with. Part of this, so going back to these questions about improving your mental health, is definitely acknowledging what areas that you might need support in. And sometimes we're thinking about the thought process, right, of mental health, I'm having these thoughts, anxiety, depression. These are common things that we hear about, but a lot of the times it's how it's manifesting in our body. Are we having challenges when it comes to sleep? Are we getting enough rest? Is our body aching? Right? Is it that we're having a harder time even with how we're breathing? But they're why am I breathing it manifests a lot of times physiologically, but we're not attributing it to mental health. We're attributing it to I might need to see my primary doctor. And actually it's your mental health that's impacting the physical. The physical health is kind of what you're seeing. And so I oftentimes see this as a therapist, right? Where someone's they'll tell me that they're experiencing certain symptoms, but then as I'm asking more questions, I'm also learning how to really impacting them in their health, right? Blood pressure's high. They're having a hard time eating or not, eating, not eating. That's migraines. I get migraines. Others get migraines. So we'll see it in other ways, but it's the lead up from our of not taking care of our mental health. So it's all interconnected, right? It's all interconnected, and how it manifests is different. So I think it's just also recognizing, okay, I didn't think that was mental health, but actually it is, but this is how it's showing up. And for me, it was brain fog. It was fatigue. It was forgetfulness. It was the inability to clearly state sentences. I was stumbling a lot on my words, and it wasn't out of nerves. It was I could not remember words. And that was how it was showing up for me initially. I'm how am I supposed to do this high, executive functioning work if I can't even speak? It's not coming out. So there's a lot of things to think about and consider. And, I really come from a strength-based approach around what is working, what has worked in the past, to bring that back in. Right? Sometimes we're thinking, oh, we got to do this new thing, this new wellness approach. No, look at what you've done and bring that back in. For me, it's dancing. It's music. I love dancing. I love music. And I might not be able to, I'm not in that like club scene anymore, right? My life is different now. But can I dance with my son? Absolutely. Like, let's put on the music. Let's like dance in the kitchen. He loves dancing. He loves music. So there's other ways to do that, right? So like looking at what did we enjoy in the past and how can we bring it into our present now that fits well into our current season of our life, right? And so there's many ways to do that. I do think that everyone's like what that is for them is individual and like they get to decide that, but like really looking at what has been helpful in the past or what you want to bring in. Even looking around your colleagues and friends, like, oh, I never tried that. Let's try that, So I hope that's a helpful response and folks are taking something away from that and thinking about what their mental health is and how it shows up and how they can find support in that.
For sure. Oh my gosh. I love that you said dancing because I also am not in a club scene anymore. It's not something that appeals to me, loud music and people, just not my thing anymore. But I will turn on music in the kitchen and just like dance and it elevates my mood. It makes me feel good. I get energized. And I was like, can we have like a daytime dance? Or like a early evening, so I'm home by 9, dance party, and I want to play all like the old classic like 80s, 90s hip hop songs. Yeah, for sure. I love it. Thank you. Those were some really great tips. Everything that you said, wonderful. Thank you.
I also like what you said, but have you ever thought, we always think about all of the things that have been done wrong in our life. Well, for me, I'm saying for me, like my parents, my dad was an alcoholic, all of this stuff. But your dad was a musician too, and him being able to, dance around with his grandson, and you sharing that's so like just thinking about that, being able to dance freely and happily. And I'm sure your dad was feeling all that when he was doing his music, and I don't know, I just picture your dad in now that
Yes.
I actually never met him, but I know that about him. So just to pass on that gene to your child, to his grandchild, what a blessing.
Absolutely. Yeah, my dad and my uncles, all of them are musicians. I have one uncle who's not a musician, but he's a dancer. He's the like one on the dance floor. And then my other uncles are all percussionists and drummers. And so I grew up with music, a lot of variation, different genres of music and, events and family parties with like bands and all of that. So it's something that definitely was huge for my father. It really filled his cup and was his wellness. And the times that he was hospitalized, unfortunately, my dad's no longer physically here with us, but when he was hospitalized, there was a time where he was kind of like in a semi-coma, like he was not coming out of. And it was when I went and I played his favorite song. Like I knew his favorite song. I played it for him and it brought him out of it. Like he started tapping his fingers and then tapping his hand. And I'm like, oh my, like he knew, right? Like that's what brought him out. It wasn't my voice, unfortunately. Favorite song, but I knew what that song was. And I'm like, well, let's try it. And yep, it brought him out. And within a few days, he was back to being coherent again and being able to talk again, all of that. And I just kept on playing his music for him. And that was his medicine, like every time he had instances where he was hospitalized and came out, that was part of supporting him was like, get the drum set, get the drums out for him, get the drumsticks out. And he could do that for hours and it would really support him. So, so thank you for bringing that up, Avril, and recognizing him and the gift that he had, and also how that was a really amazing support to his own wellness.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next question. And we'll start with Sarah. How has culture helped you in your mental health journey? And then the same question for you, Monique, after.
I think culture has helped me in my mental health journey by being a home. I feel like it's something that's like a foundation that's always going to be there. It's something you can always lean on. It's family. I think of like going to my grandma's house and we'll still, sit together and smoke like pretty often. I feel like it's connection to the earth, to my siblings, to my grandma. I feel like it's also like a place of, I don't know how to properly word this, but like almost, yeah, just like stability, just foundation, I guess.
Mm.
But I think that's how it's really impacted my mental health journey. And then also, like I was mentioning, being able to just do like tobacco ties with my therapist, it comes up in unique ways that I never really expected or looked for, but that just happened to show up. So I would say definitely family though, for sure. And especially when we get to go back home and even have ceremony out there, I feel like that's really special. I'm very fortunate to still have that connection with my family and my culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, Monique.
Yeah, it's very similar. I feel like culture is like really at the center of everything for me. I'm not fully versed in all the things in my Dine way or my Mexican culture, but I'm learning and I continue to learn. And as I'm learning from others and with my family, and I'm very also fortunate to be able to go home to my family on the res. It's like it feels like home, like it is home. And so, and that's what I really harnessed within Indigenous Circle of Wellness is like, how do we, I don't bring that in for someone else. Like, how do they feel? How do they bring what's important to them and what culture is to them? Because it's not separate from me at all. It's like really what I lean into and how I feel the most grounded. So that's what I always start with, and whatever I'm doing is like the culture piece. How is this going to be included before anything else, right? Even how I show up as a therapist, culturally, I'm showing up as your relative. I'm showing up as someone who is in community with you. And then I have shared these trainings that are great and that can be helpful, these, degrees and all this other stuff. Some of that is great, but the most important thing is the relationship that I have with the person that I'm working with. And the same thing when it comes to any relationship that I'm in. And that's part of our culture is that kinship, right? So I always come in that way first, and then the other things can be a support if needed. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. But it's a constant, it's a journey. For me, there's been different entry points into culture, and I'm like, no, this is the road I want to be on. I want to continue. I was very intentional from the time I was in undergrad. It's like, I want to work within my community. Like I'm going to be in my community. When I'm a therapist, it's for my community. And the practice I'm going to have, it's for my community. Like there was never a separation from it. It's just like, how do we continue to bring that? That's like a very important part of who I am. So yeah, that's a lot of it. And so the ways that I kind of continue to do that is I pray. Like, we're a very prayerful family. Like, I pray on my own at home. I pray with my son. I also pray with my husband, and it's not part of his culture, but he's very receptive to my learning and teachings and my culture. So that is important too, is that I'm with a partner who is embracing of that and supportive, because it couldn't be any other way. He was like, you otherwise. But it's all of that. And, even everything, I don't see it separate at all. And it's part of my journey for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to separate when you are immersed or recognize that that's like a part of you. It just becomes a part of you. It's not like a separate thing. So I fully understand what you're saying. Okay, the next question that we have is for
before we go, I just want to respond to both what Sarah and Monique said. Going back home, if we have the opportunity to do that, because here in LA, some people might not even have the opportunity to go back home. But I think that even even with pandemic, like I'm Taos Pueblo on my father's side, Oglala Lakota on my mother's side. Taos Pueblo is a language that isn't written down. You have to learn it from somebody else that knows it. And during pandemic, they had online Zoom classes. That's the first that ever happened. And for me to take the initiative to go to those classes on a regular basis is a big thing. So I just want to make sure that, if you still have the opportunity of being home or having connections with your grandmas or your aunties or those individuals that still know the teachings and the languages, I'm not fluent, but I always will open my introduction in my own way.
Mhm.
I always will, when I'm talking to my takojas, my grandchildren, I use languages, simple languages that they can use, like ta'a, or that means thank you, or wopila, so that they can pick up those little things. I used to count in Lakota the numbers in the nighttime when we were going to sleep. So even now, my granddaughter, I don't see her as that often. I see her often, but not that often. She'll be like, Wenji, Nupa, and
Love
just like trying to use those small words on a regular basis. So I just want to recommend to people that are watching, if you have the opportunity, and I'm telling myself this too, because my auntie will always be like, you need to come home. You need to call me more often. You need to connect. And it's true, I do. We all have a lot of things going on places. But if we continue to use those languages, atiehet, or your thank you in your guys' language on regular small term basis, people are going to recognize that as well. And like I say it to Jennifer, I say it to a lot of people that surround me. I use my own language and they know what that is. So I just want to recommend to people that are watching, if you have the connection to go back home, if you have connection to your auntie or to your home or to the different cultures, use those on a regular basis. That's it. The end.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. And it is something that I want to, like, my goal, one of my goals is I want to be able to fully introduce myself in Navajo. I need to. I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. Like, I know words,
You got it.
parts of it, and I can understand more as I've gotten older and I've been around my aunties and grandmas and so forth. Like, when they speak, I can understand more. But I also, I actually want to go back home and live there for a while, just to really have like that experience of living there with my family. So, I see it as like, I have some things I need to prioritize more now. I get that. I take accountability for that too. Of like, how can I do this now? And honestly, us Navajos have no excuse, because there's apps out there. There's like online classes. There's a lot of us everywhere. Like, so I know we have no excuses. But it's huge. It's an important part, right? Our language. And so what I've been doing is I have my like Navajo playlist songs on Spotify. So I've been doing more of like listening to Navajo songs in Navajo to help with that. So little by little, getting stronger in that language development for Navajo.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to go into our next question, Jen.
Yes. This is for Monique as well. What are some common misconceptions about mental health in urban Indigenous communities, and how can we work to dispel them?
So this question, when I was thinking about it, like there's two ways to answer it. There's the one around like how non-Indigenous communities view Indigenous people and like how we seek wellness. And then there's how we are within our own community. So I'm going to answer it from that angle of like how maybe others see us outside. And that is that there's this misconception that Native and Indigenous people don't seek therapy. There's a misconception that we have a lot of issues, a lot of challenges, a lot of historical trauma, and that we're doing nothing about it. And that is completely false. We have been since, the beginning of time to this day, very much wellness focused. It's in our ceremonies, it's in our songs, it's in our way of life. Therapy is a newer concept in the sense of how like Western therapy is. And so we might not seek therapists, but we're seeking healers in different ways, right? That part
Mm.
I would like when people are like, oh, they, it's a stigma. No, it's not. Actually, many of us, even here on this conversation, oh yeah, my therapist, I talk to people all the time in our community. They're like, yeah, I have my therapist, and I have, it's not that everyone's like seeing some type of wellness practitioner, whether it's a assistant person or they're doing ceremony or they're doing, they're involved in community. They know the medicines and they're utilizing the medicine. So we're healing. We're working on our healing, have been, will continue to. For any non-Native folks out there, we're doing our thing. Now, in the community, I would say it's not so much a misconception, but maybe some misinformation on how to access the resources. There's various types of resources. There's, nonprofit settings, there's private practice settings, there's private insurance, there's private pay, there's third-party payers. Like there's different ways to access mental health. And I don't think we are familiar enough on how to get the access based on our personal financial situations or resources. And I get it too, because then we have to engage in certain systems that we might not want to engage with or having to ask certain questions. But that's within the community. I think sometimes it's like, I hear that a lot, like, well, I don't know where to go, or I didn't know that there was this resource that they're there. But like, I don't feel like we've been struggling with this in the LA urban community for a long time. And I think probably nationally around like, but where's there one place to go to get all the answers? And we don't really have that. It's always usually like through relationships, which I'm grateful for, but not everyone has those deep relationships. Like I can text Avril and Jen right now, right? If I had a question about something, you all will be able to respond. Not everyone has that. So I think that's where, as a community, like it's how do we get the information out of different types of healing ways and like where to access it. So that's my answer.
I love that answer. And just going back to the previous question, because it has it meshes into it for me. I co-trained to the Social Work Core Academy about ICWA, or about working with families. And I love what you said, because a lot of social workers that are in there, they're non-Native, right? So they're working with Native families. And one of the things that you said is that you're showing up as a relative. And I don't think that those social workers, I need to use that. And I hope you don't mind that I use that with them, because we always try to tell them in those core academies, don't show up like you're the savior, like you're going to save the world. But I think now, or save that family, or, because we have a lot of historical trauma around governmental entities. So if I say, we show up as a relative, that's going to change their mindset and just help them to understand. I also like that, a lot of times, a lot of different people say talk therapy, we're scared to talk, but we are seeking healing in different ways. And I think as we all continue to want to get better or be better or do better, I think seeking that healing needs to come from inside, from oneself first, to want to change. And then also being able to turn to those supporters or those individuals or those family members that can share with you those cultural ways. Okay, that's it. Sarah, this is your chance. I don't know, Jen, do you have anything to say? But that's what I wanted to say.
The way I found my therapist actually was through this website called Open Path Collective, and my massage therapist told me about this website. But it's true, before that I would have no idea where to even start. And especially as someone that works for myself, I'm like, I don't even, like, it's so different. Like, I don't have an employer providing me insurance. It's not the same path. So it was even more confusing. But they actually work on sliding scale, and they do like online and in person. So that's a really cool website too. But I totally agree that we've been doing healing since like day one.
Yeah. We're like the best at it. Like we are what the best therapy models that work have, like they've been co-opted and regurgitated, right? Like they come from a lot of our indigenous communities, the ones that really work amazing, but they're just not, we didn't do research on our stuff. It's just like our way of being, right? So it's these, and I love that you shared, like, you got the information from your massage therapist. So this is the thing, right? Our entry point into our mental health comes in different places. It might be a directory or a Google search, but sometimes it's from someone else in the community. It's from another wellness practitioner who's like, hey, like, so again, this is like, what are we involving ourselves with? If we're like healing centered, and Sarah, it sounds like you really do a lot of like self-development and like, you know, that self-help books, like all those things are going to constantly reinforce like different ways of healing and to ways to like access resources. It's, you're going to, that's what your life is going to be like. And that's what mine is. I'm like, I have a whole wheel, a whole circle of wellness practitioners that support me. You know,
Yes.
I don't do this alone.
A team.
Alone. Yes, our wellness teams.
Yes.
You know, also going back to that circle, I want to also encourage or introduce one of the things that one of your colleagues, Robin Gomez, helped me with was also, because you know the medicine wheel has different sections, and one of the sections that she included is financial wellness as well. So we need to also, I also need to have been including that in physical wellness, mental wellness, financial wellness, not necessarily being a millionaire, but when I tell my grandson, do you think I'm going to be a millionaire? And he said, yes, grandma, you are. And I want to hear things like that, you know, but also financial wellness, or being able to, um, for me, know what my worth is. And that way I can, when I work with people, if they know my worth, then they're going to pay me for my worth. And I love that, you know, Robin had mentioned, I want you to be financially well, instead of going to somebody and being like, oh, I'll give you 20, like $10 an hour or something, you know. I know that what I do and my connection to different people, and, you know, just wanting the best for my community, it's not necessarily a high ticketed price, but I know my community and I know how to connect. So I'm going to be at my standard rate, which is a standard rate, but financially well in the end is what I'm trying to say, needs to be thrown into that medicine wheel as well.
Absolutely. And this like goes into a lot of the business stuff that I do in my coaching and consulting work, is like, how do we have sustainable businesses where we're financially well? And there's a lot of money mindset things right around like, what is money? How it isn't in our community, is like asking for what we deserve. Like at the end of the day, the financial piece is a resource. The more financial stability that I have, and more financial stability that I have, I'm able to then support my family. I'm going to just give you quick examples of this, right? Because I've been able to have a sustainable business. I have employees. They have a living wage, right? They have an amazing work environment because we have to charge a certain amount. Like that is helping our financial wellness. It is very reciprocal. It's reciprocal. It's, you know, it's given back. The other is that, you know, my husband and I invested about 7 years ago in a property that, you know, we were able to get, luckily, and we're renovating. Well, it's not just the renovation. That's amazing. I love like nice, newer things. But the bigger part of that, the most important part of that, is that my auntie's going to move into our back house. And it's the generational wealth piece. Right? My auntie is going to have a stable home to live in. She doesn't have to worry about no renter, owner kicking them out, raising their rent again, any of that. There's stability. And she so much so that she took out her P.O. box because she's like, this is my forever, like my address is here. And that,
I love that.
Is like, I could not do that if I was giving away services and not charging what I'm worth. This is helping my family, who's also part of the community, right? And she's the elder, the auntie, and Avril, you know her. So sooner or later, when all this construction's done, we're gonna have some, you know, some Navajo tea outside in the backyard together.
Nice.
But I do think that oftentimes we see, you know, we don't include it because we see it as like a thing that it's hard to talk about because it also anything can become a negative thing if it's not used in the resource isn't used properly.
Yeah.
So.
I wanted to jump in here really quick. Since we're talking about finances, I wanted to give acknowledgement to Sarah because she's a business owner, and I went in to do my lashes. She does lashes. She does a variety of things, but at this particular time, I don't know how many years ago it was, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and she would be listening to podcasts while we were doing the lashes. And one of them was this woman, her name's Jen Sincero, and she had this great book, which I can't remember the name of, but I know
a badass.
You Are a Badass, yeah.
Yes.
And it was about money. And oh my gosh, I just started listening to that audiobook, and it really, really got me like pumped up and thinking about like how can I improve my own personal way of thinking about money. And it did, help to give me personal growth, change my life. And I took a lot of those things. I'm very similar with Sarah. I always am like listening to something time of personal growth, like YouTube or audiobook or something like that. And so I just want to say thank you, Sarah, for that, because that was like a huge thing that helped me in my life.
Yeah, of course. I feel like you started this though for me. Like I think you were the first person to introduce me into like mindset work. When I was like in junior high, I don't think I really grasped it at the time, but I remember we were walking on the Rose Bowl and I'm like, yes, like thoughts, they do things. But like down the line, once I really got into it and really understood the power of your intentions and the way you think, they all started to click, and I'm like, oh, she was onto something. And then I feel like it's like kind of full circle. And now I'm like, you're laying down, and I'm making you listen to like my books and stuff. But that's so cool. Yeah, I love that. I think, especially for like finances, I feel like a lot of people that I know in Los Angeles that are in the indigenous community didn't grow up with a lot of money at all, and I feel like that root is really hard to rewire sometimes. I'm going to give you a quick example really quick, but I heard this analogy once that like pretty much imagine your head is like a mountain and your thoughts are a stream that are coming up and they're going down one way. So your parents will help you carve the little divot that the water will go. So, your thoughts come up, they go this way, they go this way. But maybe that's like lack mindset, no abundance, broke, in debt. But what you want to do is pretty much start to surround yourself with like things that you actually want. So maybe, financial stability, a stable income, and you start to carve your own path. But you got to keep doing it over and over and over. And eventually, when the thoughts come up as water, they're going to go down your own way. But yeah, it just kind of reminded me of that. I thought that was like really cool.
I love that. That's like a great visual. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think I've been carving my own way for a while, so I recognize like, don't go that way, go this way.
And it ties back to what we talked about in the very beginning around like the 5, right? Like the 5 people or that are who is in our space, right? So like I am so drawn to like positive, empowered, like thriving women. Like I want to be with you. I want to hang out with you. So when Avril was like, you want to join us? Heck yes, I'm here, right? Like I want to be here because I know the energy and the love that you all bring. And of course, I hadn't met Sarah, but I know she's amazing because she's also invited by Avril and Jen. So like, right. So we need more of these spaces, continue to like uplift one another. And this is really, this contributes to my mental health. It contributes to others' mental health. And, I appreciate being here. So thank you all for the invitation. And I hope the listeners also are having some some gems there to like really take from and hopefully they can implement into their lives as well.
I'm thinking, Avril, we're coming close to our ending time. So maybe just one last question for each of them. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. And this one goes really good with our next question goes really good for Sarah, because Sarah, I follow you and I know that you're doing 75 hard.
Yeah.
And I want to ask if you can. This question is, how does connecting with nature and the land contribute to your overall well-being and sense of growth? That one first. I know you can answer that, but I also, if you can give us a little bit about what 75 Hard is and how people can do it on their own.
So there's this book, I think it's called Live Well, but there's a couple different programs that this guy does. To be honest, I haven't read the whole book, but I have tried this program before in the past, and it's kind of like a accelerated physical fitness, lifestyle, mental health, like kind of challenge. I feel like it is a little extreme. I will admit that. And I think I have the luxury of owning my own business where I do have a lot of free time to do this. But there's pretty much 5 rules and it's for 75 days. And if you miss any of them, you have to start over. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. But the 5 rules are 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. I feel like nature makes plays a really big part in that for me. The second rule is you have to drink a gallon of water every day. The next rule is you have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. I'm actually reading a book about discipline right now, and I don't think I would ever have picked it up if I wasn't doing this challenge. You gotta take progress pics, and then to be on some kind of diet and not to drink, or you don't drink, so But it's been a lot of fun. I feel like I was already kind of on a fitness journey, and I think it helped me kind of amp things up and have a destination because I was kind of just like going aimlessly, and it's re-inspired my love for running. I'm trying to get back into it, but it's not easy in your 30s. I'm like, fuck. Twice my age. But yeah, I feel like my connection with nature, how does that contribute to my overall sense of growth? I feel like nature is super, super important to me. I can tell in my body when my nervous system just feels out of whack or overstimulated. And sometimes I just want to go into the mountains. I go hiking alone at least once a week by myself. And I just like love not having service and just being in the woods, calming down. Even like I'll go like gather my own sage, and I feel like that is connected to my culture as well. But I've always been like a nature girly. I love camping. I love hiking. I think it's just it brings you back to yourself without all the extra noise of social media, of people around you, other people's opinions, just existing in your own skin in that moment. It forces you to be in the present. But I think it's played a tremendous role in my mental health. And I could feel it in my body when I'm like, okay, I haven't gone outside alone in a long time. I need to go. And I just feel better. Even like taking off your shoes and feeling grounded in the dirt, I feel like that even helps you just feel like, I don't know, at ease, calm. Yeah. Okay, so I just vomited a bunch, but yeah.
You're inspiring.
Thank you for sharing. I know that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I know like younger people can't, I don't know, not necessarily accept the concept of going outside in the dirt or touching the tree, or, it might seem hokey, but I think like connecting to Mother Earth in that way, it just empowers you in different ways.
Yes. I feel like it's also helped me feel so empowered as a woman being out there by myself. And granted, there are times where it is like a little scary, but I feel so, I don't know, just in my own skin and in my own power of like not being too scared to go alone or letting someone not be able to go with me hold me back. I feel like it's super important, especially as a woman in like the city or even anywhere, to have that, I don't know, that inner strength to know that you have your own back and you'll be okay.
I love that. Yeah.
I love that too, because I struggle with going places by myself. I mean, as I do have a lot of supportive individuals, but I'm going to put this out there. I'm very much, I don't like going places by myself. I was born a twin, so I blame it on my sister because I've always had somebody since the pregnancy. But
yes,
thank you for sharing, Sarah. We're going to move on to our next and final question. And Jen?
For you, Monique, are there any specific community initiatives or resources that you would recommend for those seeking support or guidance with mental health?
Absolutely. I think, highlighting Indigenous Circle Wellness, folks to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. We have various things that we offer. Coming up, we have a circle support space for pregnant and postpartum women by one of our therapists who's also a perinatal mental health specialist and has training in that. So want to have more spaces. We also have monthly coffee breaks. So it's like just come with your coffee, hang out with us. We're talking about mental health, different topics, different areas. It's super fun. It's, it's great. So that's something that's free and open to community on a monthly basis. We also have with our partner organization, our sister organization, so Oceanala's Sister Project, we have different programming, so community events and resources, so folks can actually be in community together. And so it's not like the direct services, but there's other spaces to, there's beading circles, there's food, traditional food ways, different things like that to help with our wellness. And then I always am we're constantly sharing different wellness things that are happening in community on our social media and on our newsletter. So also if there's folks out there that are doing things that are wellness related, like send emails over to us at info@icowellness.com, and then we'll add it to our newsletter. We have a pretty good amount of folks on our email list, and so we can get those upcoming events on there. And then I'm going to be on a panel later this month with Natives in Philanthropy. And I think that's an amazing discussion and panel around mental health as well. So I invite folks to come to that. And all of this is on our social media, especially our Instagram page. So you can check out what's coming up there. And what else are we doing? We're as a private practice, we're also partnering with organizations and offering mental health and wellness workshops and trainings. So if someone's organization, native or non-native, wants to have us come in and present and provide workshops around holistic wellness and really attending to our own personal wellness, we provide that. And we are trying to find we are doing different things in different ways to bring the information and resources to community outside of the therapy room.
Thank you. I now wish I could come to all those things.
Well, the coffee break's online, so you can.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, yay. That was actually the one that I was like, oh man, I want to go to coffee break.
Coffee break is online, so come to that. And then we're going to start doing, we're kind of figuring out other series and so forth on there. So that we can offer virtually and also in person, but the coffee break's virtual. So come with your coffee or tea, whatever your morning beverages.
Water, whatever it might be. Oh, hello to Willie. We have a comment from Willie. Yay! He knows all of us. That's great. So we're getting to the point where we are going to wrap up here. I'm going to let Avril do some closing statements, but let me just say that it was really wonderful to spend time. I hope that the two of you get to meet each other in person, because you're both so amazing people. And I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, they don't know each other. But
I know. I'm like, you gotta hang out, Sarah.
Yeah, now we do. Now we know
a lot of similar interests and stuff. So I'd love to hang out.
Yeah, I've known Sarah since she was very, very young. Students Run LA. We've done the LA Marathon together. I don't know how many times, but a few. Yeah. Again, well, I will walk it. I won't be running anymore. But I could definitely, so much. I've learned a lot from both of you. So thank you for spending time. And I'll be in Los Angeles in August, so hopefully we can have some kind of a, coffee, tea, reunion, brunch, I don't know, whatever, but something. So thank you. And I'll pass it to Avril to close us out.
So I just want to say thank you, Wopila, Atiehet, gracias. Thank you to everybody that's watching. Thank you to our special guests that are here. It was such a great session. And the reason that we did this was because May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mm.
So to bring Monique on, and also the spring greet, the title was Native Voices of Renewal. So empowering mental health and springtime growth, those two go, I think, hand in hand. And both of you are amazing guests to have. And should anybody want to get in contact with you all, your information is in the comments. Sarah's an amazing esthetician, does all kinds of amazing stuff. So go visit her website. Monique is an amazing community member, individual, auntie, sissy, and she's been there so many times for so many individuals, including myself. So please feel free to reach out to Indigenous Circle of Wellness or the Shotanali Sister Project, which are both great places. We do want to invite you to join us at our next online live, which is our next Sissy, Unci, and Aunties live event on June 12th. From 3 to 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. Hawaiian Standard Time would be 12 to 1:30 with our special guest, Alton Naswith. We're going to be talking about a lot of great things. We also want to encourage you. We'll be having a graduation link. So if you like to share your graduation photos with us, we'll look out for that on our socials. And thank you all just for being here again. We want to say thank you, Ta'a, Pilamayaye, Gracias, Atiahet. Thank you all for being here. It was a blast, and we will definitely see you on our next live. So thank you all. We'll see you. That's
Bye.
it.
Thank
The
you.
end.
Bye.
Bye-bye.